Yo, what's up guys, Bound here, and I've come to this realization that in Generation 8, and just in general, I've been building my teams pretty much the same way, right? And I realized this when I watched this WolfeyVGC video about team building, right? And even though this is a team building guide uh, mainly going towards VGC, people trying to learn VGC, but a lot of these concepts can be applied to singles as well, right? So I'm going to show you, this is the Wolfey video I was talking about how to team build, and I realized that I've been following this method when I haven't even realized it, like just because of how the metagame in Generation 8 is, right? Like, I can give you an example because the power creep has been going insane. Even at the beginning of the generation, there's already like just this insane power creep, right? You saw Pokemon like Dracovish and Galarian Darmanitan like getting high usage because they were really rewarding with like few drawbacks that people didn't realize at the time, right? So people started spamming them a lot, and as a result, like, I've been building my teams a certain way to respond to those Pokemon that power creep, right? So I can talk about, this is like the first team, right, that I made, like the first really good team that I made in Generation 8, and obviously it was a really successful team. And like the main reason behind that is because of my defensive backbone, right? Jellicent and a lot of bulky offensive Pokemon. So and like an example of early metagame threats are like Excadrill, like I talked about, Darmanitan, Dracovish, and Excadrill. Those are three threats that just get destroyed, that just get walled by this, right? This Jellicent here. And that's really important because, like, if you have this Pokemon that can handle a wide array of threats, it makes your team just more consistent. And I have all these Pokemon. This can handle a wide variety of threats. This can handle it. This can handle it. Even an offensive Pokemon like Rotom can handle it because of its offensive capabilities. It has bulk, right? Its Choice Scarf can outspeed Mons out by surprise. And yeah, that's pretty much how I do it. Like, it's not so all the work is done in the team building pretty much. Like 90% of the work is team building, and then 10% of the work is like actual battling, because that's just how it is. But like, that's just how it is because personally, I take like hours to build teams because I analyze the metagame and then I make a response. So this method involves analyzing, and this is called the reactive defensive method. And I'm kind of explain to you what that is. So shoutouts to Wolfey obviously for the information, but I'm just going to talk about it. So this method involves analyzing the prevalent threats in the metagame and determining the defensive tools capable of handling them, right? So as you can see, pretty much all my Battle Stadium singles teams have defensive backbones inside them that try to deter like a way of posing like offensive threats in team preview. So like literally all my teams like have defensive backbones, and like I guess I can give an example. So in this one, this was my Series 17 back in late 2020, and Arcanine was really good at dealing with Gmax Cinderace because it was the most used Pokemon at the time. And the reason behind that is because Will-O-Wisp can cripple Cinderace when it switches out of a fire type because of Libero, right? This was a really clever counterplay, and a lot of people, pretty much everyone, fell for it too. Like you would think that Will-O-Wisp is coming, but then they use like a fighting move or an Airstream or something, and they get out of a fire mode, right? Fire type, and then Will-O-Wisp works. So that's really good, and then I can just cripple it, heal up, like damage it, like. So that was really good, and then also Gastrodon was really good at dealing with like a lot of setup sweepers, and also Dracovish obviously deterred away Dracovish at team preview, which was excellent. And Clear Smog allowed me to just dismay setup sweepers from just taking over, and also Dynamaxing and just sweeping, right? Because that's the big thing about Generation 8. Like, you don't want these Dynamax Pokemon just setting up and sweeping. And like my goal like your goal should be to just find ways to stop that. And there's a lot of common trends that my team follow to do that task. Like almost every one of my teams has a Scarf Pokemon, and that's because I want to revenge kill certain Dynamax Pokemon, mainly Pokemon that get Airstream one Airstream off, and in hopes of my Scarf Pokemon coming out and revenge killing. That's actually worked pretty well, and that's why I've been using it a lot. Like Scarf Rotom is an example. Scarf Articuno. This is like really niche, but Scarf Articuno Galar has worked a lot against certain threats in that metagame. Scarf Healerless, what's it called? Just a lot of Scarf Pokemon, like Scarf Mamoswine, and other options, right? And that's mainly because I want to revenge kill Dynamax Sweepers. And also just have the edge against Faust Pokemon in general, but that's the main role that I want to play. And like a really good example that he talks about is Excadrill. And now I know this is a VGC like oriented guide, but a lot of these concepts can be applied to singles as well, because that's just how Pokemon is, right? And Excadrill, right? You have Excadrill has really high damage output, and also the max moves are stab moves that bulk Excadrill up. They give Excadrill defensive buffs, and so you're like, how are you supposed to deal with that? Well, the main reason, so Excadrill was like an early Gen 8 competitive threat, right? And in order to deal with that at the time, I used Jellicent. Now I used to use Strain Sap / Recover on Jellicent depending on the situation, like depending on how the metagame was going. But Scald and Will-O-Wisp were really good against Excadrill. Will-O-Wisp was able to reduce the damage output and basically not caring about the buffs, the defensive buffs it was getting, because it was just reduced damage, and it didn't really have a way of boosting its attack, because Max Knuckle doesn't work on Jellicent, and then Swords Dance, like, there's a risk to doing that, obviously, out of Dynamax. So yeah, that's pretty much, like, Jellicent dealt with a lot of threats, like, just, dude, it was insane. Like, I could switch Jellicent. That's the thing, right? And I think I talked about this, but consistency, like when you have like these Pokemon that can deal with a wide variety of threats, like Jellicent, like Rotom Heat, like Gastrodon, like some other Pokemon, Manibuzz, right? It makes your battles way more consistent, because I always say, like 90% of the game, 90% of the work is done in team building, and then the other 10% is actually battling, because like I spend like multiple hours, like even hours, trying to build my teams, because I'm analyzing the metagame. Like I'm basically trying to do all the work in team building so that I don't have to think much in battle, because that's kind of how it is. I do still think like quite a bit, but like I'm not thinking as much as I am when I'm team building the team, obviously. Like team building is really difficult. Like I can't stress that enough. It's like, that's why a lot of like VGC players don't team build, and he talks about that like in his video, right? A lot of VGC players get teams from other players, or like like people that team build, like are team build specialists, right? So like, because it's a really hard thing to do, and it just takes a lot of time too. But I think like I personally enjoy like team building, because it gets like, personally I like strategy and like the creative thinking behind it, and like personally it's really satisfying to use like a team that you built and just like be really successful with it. And like that's pretty much what me in Generation 8, right? And so that's been amazing. And then also yeah, he talks about defensive tools are important. And yeah, so signaling to your opponent that, yeah, so this is really important. So in team preview, the best thing you can do to kind of manipulate your opponent and what you're kind of bring is just have like certain immunities that prevent certain Pokemon on their team from functioning properly. Like a really common example is Dracovish, right? If you have like a water immunity, then they're probably like gonna think twice about bringing it. Probably not gonna bring it, right? And that gives me an advantage because that means that that's just one less Pokemon I really have to worry about when I'm choosing my 3 Pokemon, right? And that's really important because it just adds to consistency. That's another thing that adds to consistency. And yeah, so like I said, Dynamax is a large buff to offense. Yeah, so you need to be able to deal with Dynamax sweepers and not let them sweep, because that's just the concept of Gen 8. Like as I've said multiple times in my videos throughout the generation, it's really important. But yeah, I think, and also in Generation 9, I don't think the power creep is going to be as high as it was in Generation 8, because like Dynamax will not be in the game. Dynamax was a huge addition to the power creep, and so is Mega Evolution, but Mega Evolution was long gone, obviously. But Terrestrialization does seem really good, but it's definitely not going to be as broken as Dynamax. At least that's not what I think. Hopefully I'm correct on that, but we just gotta see, man. We got 1 month until the game comes out, literally. So I'm excited for Gen 9, man. I'm definitely I don't know how I'm gonna be building teams. Like, I'm probably gonna stick with this method for now, depending on how the metagame goes. But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say, so I'll see you guys next time.